How's it going, YouTube? This is Nathan Reynolds, and I have been in the software engineering, and like web development career path for going on basically 10 years now. Professionally, I've been working for about 6 years, a little over 6 years actually. And I just want to give some tips to people who are starting out, who are either in high school, college, or considering college for the software engineering path and web development path, or even DevOps support, DevOps engineering. They're all very similar paths, and I think I come from the background where I can speak from experience, as in what's the differences, how do they correlate, and if I were to start again, how would I start again? And basically, I started off in high school. I used to love playing video games. Once I hit high school, freshman, sophomore year, I gave up a lot of video games. I got into doing HTML and CSS, which is syntax language. It's not really, I wouldn't consider it a programming language. It's more or less, I would say more or less like almost like a scripting language, but it's close. I started off with that. I thought it was awesome that you could create something from nothing with Notepad on your XP, Dell, or Windows. I thought that was awesome. So I started doing that. I started building web pages, and then I started dabbling in JavaScript, jQuery. And then I realized there's something that I would need. If I wanted to store data, I would need a database and some sort of back-end communicating programming language, or like processing language like PHP. So I went with MySQL for the database. I went with PHP for the server processing that data on the back end of the server. That way, you can log in. No one, at that point in time, I was, fairly young, and I was just starting to dabble in it. And I kind of got bored with the client side, front end web pages. And I wanted to be able to log in. I wanted to be able to register. I want to be able to make a post or a comment and it stay there, not just on the client side. I started off trying to store this data on the client side, and I realized, wait, it's gone on refresh. So that's where PHP and database experience began. I debated from freshman year of high school up till honestly probably 2 or 3 years out of high school. I really debated on still going to college for this field, this career that I knew that I wanted to do. I didn't know how to get started in it outside of, technically I had already started in it, and I thought I would have to go to college. I thought I'd have to go to college to get that respect from these bigger businesses, to be able to, not just respect, but like the accolades of college, the degree, to be able to land these jobs at bigger companies. Well, that's not true. And I won't diss college. College, is a great avenue for people who need structure, people who want that structure, and maybe even a more fine-tuned path for some people. For a lot of other people, you don't have to go if you don't want to. You can absolutely learn how to code, program, engineer, work DevOps and architecture of like Amazon Web Services. That's a good path. There's a bunch of different paths you can go down. So if you're more on the creative side, maybe you want to stay with graphic design. Maybe you want to stay with front-end web development, designing user interfaces. There's just there's different ways to go about it. I would highly recommend going on udemy.com, Google in general. Like, everybody uses Google. Even the most experienced engineers, principal engineers, they use Google on a daily. I'm not a principal engineer, even though I've been doing this for 6 years professionally. I'm I'm really close to being a senior engineer, and there is a lot of what I would consider the school of hard knocks, especially if you don't go to college route. But in that same, I think there's always a school of hard knocks, even if you go to college, because you still have to build that experience. And without having these growth pains, you can't build experience. So whether you have a college education or just a high school diploma, and you're getting into this career path, you're going to have struggles, you're going to have growth pains, and hard knocks, school of hard knocks. So basically, there's all sorts of different fields I was kind of hitting at. You got your web design, you got web development. They're all they're similar. I would say web design it could be some web development. It could be drag and drop web design. You can consider that in part of this field. If it doesn't include some sort of syntax language and you being familiar with it, I don't really consider that web design. And you can blast me in the comments for that. If you're drag and dropping websites, anyway. So the search engine optimization, that's something that you can specialize in. That's not really programming, but you're getting familiar with how Google works, how Google scrapes websites, and how you can basically rank a business's website or nonprofit's website better in the search engine. There's that field. There is UAT and QA, quality assurance, basically making sure that something a developer has done is fixed or it works correct before it goes into production. That's the QA, that's the test engineer side of things. If you like debugging, that's a great field to go into. I recommend dabbling in a bunch of these fields. Maybe take a few courses on different areas you think you're interested in to see and get your feet wet, to kind of get a hint and a taste of what you'll be doing for the rest of your life. Of course, you can shift gears, but after that 2-3 year mark, 4 year mark, it's a little harder to pivot and then regain experience in that specific field. So really, really, and I recommend this from a starting point, get a taste of different areas first. You don't want to do that 5 years down the road and realize, wait, I like this better. I would enjoy doing this better, because there's a gap that you got to make up for now in experience to either make the money that you're making now with that experience. Say you went in to working with SQL, database querying, and database administration, and then 5 years down the road, you realize, wow, I like DevOps better. That's a big gap to make up. So figure out and dabble in areas that you think you would enjoy now. Then pick. You can always pivot in a year or two. That wouldn't be as much of a gap to make up for. But a lot of this experience does correlate with one another. So just because you've spent 3 years in database administration doesn't mean you're not going to be able to do programming. Because you're familiar with syntax, you're familiar with databases, and that comes in really handy when it comes to programming, stuff like that. So there's that. Education, it don't matter whether it's in college or using online resources. Education is key. Experience and dabbling in those areas, building projects on GitHub, personal projects, dabbling in open source projects, that's very important. Personally, I have not touched many open source projects. I wish I had, and I need to. It would be good for my experience level. But with that being said, I also have access where I work currently to a lot of repositories that I could go and learn from their code, their engineering skills, their testing skills. I can look at that code almost like open source. So I recommend, dabbling in a few open source projects, but primarily getting that education and that experience. Education, and experience. Those two go hand in hand. Certifications, if you're looking for, I think there's some programming certifications out there. I think Python offers a few. I do know like TensorFlow AI, which is in most cases Python. There's a certification in that. I have a certification in that currently. AWS, if you're looking for anything from developer, architecture, DevOps, security, AI, they offer a lot. I think if I'm not mistaken, over 60% of businesses with a good sizable employee base, like the Fortune 500s, for instance, a lot of them use AWS for their hosting and databases and stuff like that. I recommend getting into AWS if you're interested in that area of like cloud computing and so forth. And it doesn't hurt if you are a programmer and you do not want to really get into AWS and you want to let someone else have that role. It does not hurt to have familiarity in that area of AWS. So it doesn't hurt to get certified in it. I can't talk much on the cybersecurity side of things. There are a bunch of different certifications on that you can get outside of college education. And there's also the college education path that you can chase. I think that's basically it. I do make over six figures. I'm from North Carolina, and I should say I make six figures. I don't make over six figures. So it's like I'm between $100,000 and $200,000 a year. And I like what I do. In some cases, I love what I do. And in other days, you can get frustrated. It can be a very frustrating line of work. You've got to just be patient with it. And like any line of work will have its moments, and you just gotta have to go through it. You got to remember why you started, how far you've came, and where you're going. So experience in that area, get a taste for what you like better, which area that you like, because there's a bunch of areas. People who don't know these fields don't realize how many fields in IT and engineering that there are, or better yet, like programming and so forth. There's so many different fields, and a lot of them, in some cases, you'll wear multiple hats. So where I work currently, I kind of wear, I'd say, at least two hats. Database administration, sort of, and like debugging. I have to debug in some cases, and a lot of data analysis, and also helping data move from system to system. In marketing data. This is my former job. It was more or less software engineering and web development, whereas I shifted into more like a DevOps support role and database administration type role. And I have a business on the side I'm trying to grow. I do more engineering and web development there, so I keep my skills toned in for those areas as well. So they correlate, but you also, if you're in one role and you would like to, at some point in time, maybe go back to software engineering, maybe you're in DevOps completely, they correlate, but you can always keep your skills sharp on the side outside of your 9 to 5, and that's something else I recommend. Outside of your 9 to 5, always educate, learn, and build that experience outside of the 9 to 5 in areas that you love, even whether it be the same as your current career path or it correlates with it. Always build those skills, sharpen your skills, sharpen your tools, and then create a great LinkedIn profile. Both of my 9 to 5 jobs, professional jobs, have came from LinkedIn recruiters. And negotiating salary is another scenario, but we can go over that in a different video. But yeah, I hope you like this video. If you have any questions, feel free to comment, like, and subscribe.